That's it.
What year was that?
It was
Just
Tuesday.
Just Tuesday. Okay, well, it's good that you can get out on that. That's very
Yeah,
good.
but I'm
You're
a
in the fresh
Kohen. I'm
air.
not supposed to be doing that stuff.
Now you're in the fresh air. That's less and vaccinated. Okay, great. So thank you. Thank you for sharing it with us. Yeah, let me take off the spotlight. And let's go and start our Shabbat service for everybody. Share sound and share, and we go. And in honor of Pesach, you can see that I've put up our Seder table. It's not this year's, last year's. It's not set up yet. Family fashion that we have with the green herbs and the vegetables all over the table. It's a Yemenite style, and instead of a plate, the whole table is the Seder plate, actually. The matzah, the burnt bread, the burnt meat, charoset, and there's Elijah's cup and the Kiddush cup. So we get ourselves into the mood of Pesach.
Yeah.
I'm going to start up for us again, also mood of Pesach. Let's get into the mood of Pesach with this here to feel ourselves Pesadik, and then we'll start our service. We don't have any special theme. I have a fun game afterwards. That's going to be our program. Now what happened to it? Talk about internet connection. It's catching up.
Zamin above this ways is they lie, but I'm fighting leader. I Zamin above this ways is they lie, but I'm fighting leader. The show the shoyche, the shusulemayu, the shusulemayu, the khoble nuro, the shovel nuro, the khoble nuro, the sabbe khotle the ikale khoble nuro, the shlo the akhwe gad the akhwe gad
Okay. It struck me the melody is like, in Romania, is this kid thinking Romanisch Wein? It's the same melody for Chad Gadya. I think that's what he's done. It sounds very like it. If you're familiar with that song. Let me see. Oops, I'm opening up the wrong one. Where am I? Here I am. There we go. So let's begin our Shabbat service. We got 5 people here on the Zoom. We got a few others coming online on Facebook and YouTube. And we're going to go ahead, keep our service simple for this Shabbat. Whoopsie, hit the wrong button on something. Kill it. Quick. How'd that get in here? Hold on 1 second. Let me admit what happened here. Just 1 second. I'm in it. Okay, cancel. And I'm going to apologize. I hit the wrong button on my screen. No. That's it. Fine, thank God. Okay, then I apologize. I hit the wrong button on my screen. I'm going to go back to share. Marcella, you're in. Glad to see you here. Going to go back to shul. As I said, it's going to keep the service very simple. At the end, I have a fun quiz for us, and then we'll call it for the day as we get ready for the Seder. So let's begin with Shochenah together. Shochenah, Maron, Bekadosh, Shemo, Bechatu, and Tzadikim Baranai, La Yesharim, Lava, Tehila, Befi Yesharim, Tit Halal, Ov Divrei Tzadikim Tiborach, Oveshan Chasidim Titomam, Ove Keref Kedoshim Tehit Kahadash, Ove Makalot, Vivevot, Amcha Beit Yisrael. Yishtabach Shimcha La'ad Makenu Machadol V'Kadosh Shemayim V'Oros K'Nah Ne'Nehenu Be'Avteinu Berachot Odot Me'Atzah B'Yarolam Baruch Chatarnai El Melech Gadol Batishbachot El Odot Adon HaNiflaot Avocher B'Shirei Zimra Melech El Chei Holamim. And we don't really have a minion, so I'm not going to do the Baruch Hu right now. Let me just go into the opening, or let's say it's the signature verse for the start of the morning benediction over light, which is Baruch Adonai Mechalam Yetzavarech Hoshech Hashem Umarei Et Hakol, and we'll go into El Adon, and we'll this Asharos Paradis.
ברוך הוא מעורב בפי כל נשמה עוד לא בטובו מענה עולם דתות כולם סובבים אותו החיות הקודש ונעלם מהאבות על המרכבה על המרכבה זכות ומשור לפני סוף חסד ורחמים מלא סרבים ואופנים והיות הקודש שבע נותנים לו כל צבע מרום תפארת וגדולה סרבים ואופנים
And let's go ahead. The vision of the angels. Kulam Havim, Kulam Berim, Kulam Gibor.
כולם נשמעים זה מזה,
בנחת רוב כספים הקדושה, כולם כאחרון ואומרים בהירה, קדוש, קדוש, קדוש,
קודש כבוד,
ופנים וחיות הקודש, ברעש גדול
ורבים,
אותם שפטים ואומרים,
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקיימות.
וברוך נמות חדש ציינת עיר, אזכח לנר לאורו ברוך, חתר מה יוצא, המאור, then together, אדוני אלוהינו, מגיד עולמים,
הרחם עלינו, אבינו מלכנו,
אבינו
מלכנו,
למדנו בחיים, כן תחננו למדנו, אבינו רחם עלינו, ותן בליבנו להבין להשכיל לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד לשמוע ולעשות ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה והארננו בתורתך ודאגנו במצוותיך ויחר לבבינו לאהבה ולרעה את שמך ולא נבוש לעולם ועד ולא נבוש לעולם ועד כי לשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בתחתון נגילה ונשמך נגילה ונשמך בשובתך והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ ותוליכנו כממיות לארצנו כי איפה ישועות הטובה ובחרתם בכל המלסנו ערפתנו לשמך הגדול סלה באמת להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה ולהתענai הברך במצווי באהבה. And we join in together. Shema
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Together, we are Hafta
Adonai Elohecha B'chol nafscha B'chol nafshecha B'chol mayadecha Tzavcha hayom al levavecha Veshnamtam levanecha V'dibarta bam Shivtecha V'shaflecha V'necha V'chartam rois al yadecha V'tevoit V'nanecha Tzavtam al levavecha Secha Visharecha Oyom Shmoy Tishmin Sadly Yagat
Together we take the last paragraph. We take the hand by Yom Adonai Moshe Al kan te big the not titarkan nach bitte the heilet elechem let's schaftem kommt zwot aber nein לא תתו, פורו אחרי לבכם, אחרי נכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם,
למען תזכרו, עתיתם מצוותיי,
כראשים לכם, אני אדוני אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים,
אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
And we continue the last verses, which are very appropriate for this season. Because the Shabbat ties in with the Exodus as the proof of God's hand in history. We talked about the children of Israel seeing the Egyptians washed up in the shores of the Red Sea, gave praise and brachot v'odot me'achai v'kayam. They give praise and thanks to the living God. With Mikamocha, Tilo Le'ele, Yomorchu, Umevorach, Moshe, Ubnei Yisrael, L'Hanashirav Simcharam, Ma'avim, Ruchula, Kamocha, V'elim Adonai, Kamocha, Nedam, HaKodesh, Norati Lo, Osef, Shira,
Chadosh, Shibko Geulim, L'Shem, Al-Tavasayam, Shira, Chadosh, Shibko Geulim, L'Shem, Al-Tavasayam, Yachad Kulam, Odu, Yachad Kulam, Odu, V'Lichu, V'Yam, So Yisrael, Kol Yisrael, Yisrael, Ubeinu Mecha, Yehuda Yisrael, Eloheinu Adonai Tzvaot Shemo,
Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Yisrael. And we ask Nina figuratively, if we physically, if we can, and we start up Adonai. Sifatai tiftach b'yagid tilatecha baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'elahei avotenu Elahei Avraham Elahei Yitzchak Elahei Yaakov Elahei Sarah Elahei Rivka Elahei Rachel Elahei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Ha'gibor v'Hanara El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'konei Hakol V'zocher Chasdei V'gedei B'neihem V'mashmo B'yahavam Elech Ozer Moshe Baruch Adonai Pokei Sarah, Ata Gibor Le'Adonai, V'Chaimeti Matan Rab Lo Shia, Yivrach Morid Hagashem, Mechakel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayem Einim B'Rachamim Rabim, Zomer Tovim V'Rofem Olim, Matir Asurim, Mekayem Emunato V'Shenei Amar. Michael Omidon Melach Melech Memin Omechayeh Omatzmiach Ne'emonatol Chayot Baruch Adonai Mechayeh Hametim. Continue the Kedusha, Nekare Shemcha B'Olam, Keshem Shemati Shemato B'Shmei Katuv Hayam Nevis HaKor Zazeh V'Yamar Kadosh 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 Adonai Tzedok V'Haaretz Kivodo Az B'Kol Rash Gadol Adi V'Chazak Mashmim Kol Nasim L'Umat Serafim V'Tomer Chemeiru Baruch Adonai Mimekomo V'Mimkom Chamakenu Tofia V'Tim Lo Chanekim Chakim Anach V'Loch V'Tai Tim Loch B'Tzion Torvinu V'Tishkon Itkada V'Tikadash B'Tok Yerushalayim Echad Edorvadon Unetzach Netzachim V'Eineinu Tirena Tirena Malchutecha Adov Omor B'Shirei Yozecha Ayedeh B'Shivkei Kachayim Lo Chanei Le'olam Hallelujah. And let's start in the door of a door. We're gonna have choir. Let's count the 12-minute silence. Continue silently. Yismach Moshe Malach Cheko Kevin Demokrato Okay, and we go back for a piece. The presentation, we have to, one thing, we said the Mashiva Ruach, with the Geshem next week, next Shabbat, we don't say it. That's it. We're into springtime and summer. So we're no longer calling for the heavy rains. I hope we got enough rain the last few weeks in California to keep us afloat or soaked one way or the other. And had the choir, it was singing the door of a door from one generation to another. Maybe we can retitle it as from one people to another, across peoples and nations. We give praise to God. That is a great way to phrase it. There are some things that we can share across peoples and across nations, across ethnicities, not wrapped up in our little cocoons. And with that, we're going to come to our little unit of study. Let's go. So I'm going to stop for a second so we can greet each other for Shabbat. We'll change the view. I can see everybody, gallery view. Wish everybody Shabbat Shalom. And we have a few people focused online. I see Doug, you've joined in. Barbara, you've joined us. We started Marcelo. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Okay.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, I mentioned I'm going to keep the service short and sweet. And then at the end, I have a fun quiz. And I found this Jeopardy game. I did this one for Purim, and I found one for Pesach. It's got questions I could never figure out. So I'm going to throw it up for you also for your enjoyment. And you go back, share the screen. Okay, give us a feeling of Pesach. As you can see here. Okay, the Seder table in front of you. As we had it last year set up, right? The greens, the Yemenite style, having all the greens on the table, around the table. Actually, in the Yemenite fashion, they cover it even more fully. with greens, and then the different elements spread across the table rather than on a single plate. So that's for our enjoyment. Let me move this back, open up again to our study. Okay, Avot. And we're with the words, the last words of this chapter, Tuf Pirkei Avot. Rabbi Tarfon wraps it up for us. Last week talked about the day is long and the workers are, the day is short and the work is long. And although we can apply this to all moral obligation that we have, since Pirkei Avot is focused on teachers and students, that's its emphasis. The emphasis is continuing on the bigger emphasis on the value of learning Torah, learning values, learning spiritual and moral values. Education is not just learning a trade. Education is not just learning coding or critical thinking, but it requires deep values. I don't count on the education system to always be the one to do it right. It depends really on family, community, religious and social and civic organizations. But now we go back to the Jewish one, which is then, you're not going to complete it. What is that job? You're never going to learn all of Torah. You're never going to learn all of wisdom. No. But just because you can't learn it all doesn't mean that you can quit. You think you learned? No, you can't quit. You have to keep on enriching and enlarging. All of us in our personal development, religious development, we have to keep on. Why? You learned a lot? Yeah, if you did a lot, you get rewarded, right? So the question then is asked, well, what about somebody who can't? And then another part it says, no matter whether one can do a lot or a little, depending on circumstances, if one is making the effort, that this is the important thing, and you will get rewarded. Right? There's a reward. There's a social reward. In society, people respect you. There's an emotional, deeply inside spiritual reward. And then, where's the payback? Where is it? You will get the bosses. The boss is a faithful and reliable boss. He's going to pay you for your efforts. But when I didn't see the check coming in, right? Oh, you don't see it now. You're going to get it, right? This faith we are recompensed. How it is to be explained, how it is to be interpreted is irrelevant. The sense that we get a recompense at some point in our existence, whether on earth or elsewhere. Now, in another part of the Pirkei Avot, it says, don't be like the servant who wants to get paid. He says, no, but you will get, there's a reward. There's a reward for your efforts. You may not feel it right now. You'll feel it at some point in your existence. Could be here, could be elsewhere. All right, a beautiful thought. So with that, come to the Kaddish Rabbanan.
Rabbi,
Yes.
maybe it can change a little bit the thought, but in some sense you can say instead of having the reward in the next world to come, the reward is in this earth, because we can live in peace and we resolve our issues through certain law.
If we
So
get to that.
Otherwise we'll be killing each other.
Yes, yeah. There's a point, yeah, if we cultivate ourselves, and I think we're missing this in the emphasis on education. I mean, religious education, we used to have an extensive religious education system, not just Jewish, Catholic, but all, right, where it was expected you're cultivating yourself in some way. And that is missing heavily, this emphasis on self-cultivation. How does one deal with one's urges, one's drives, one's desires, the other person's needs, the other person's drives? How do we develop that inner sense of perspective? And that's a very difficult thing. At one point, public education, emphasis on public education was socialization, creating of citizens. I don't think we're doing it. We're not creating citizens. We're creating everybody with a grievance. instead of saying, what are your obligations? I go back to Kennedy. So ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, right? There's this sense if we chip in together, then we can get something all together. By the way, there's also another point in rabbinic parlance, which talks about the person who has been lost, emotionally, spiritually lost in his behavior, her behavior, and then comes back, what we call tshuva. And it says, one moment of tshuva, the feeling when you have corrected your life, is greater than all the reward of the world to come, right? The interpersonal satisfaction. That is also part of the reward. Very good question. Kaddish D'Rabbanan, Joe, would you lead it?
Yiskalav v'yiskada shemei rabba
Amen.
v'olmo divrei chorise v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechonu v'yomechon uv'chayecha chol beis Yisrael ba'agalo uv'zman karev v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach Olam ve'olme olmaya Yisborach Yishtabach Yispuar Yisramam V'yisnaseh V'yishadar V'yisale Yisalo Shemei D'Kodesh Bari Ve'elam Min Kol Berachata V'shirata Tuj B'chata V'necha V'mata Damiram Be'olma Ve'imru Amen. Yehei
Al Yisrael, Rabbanan.
Al Talmudayim, Al Kol Talmudayim. Mi Al B'Kol Bar B'Yivaras B'Yivasar Yehain B'Yivachar Asar Yehei Luchan V'Chon Shlomo Rabbo Chisel V'Chasu V'Rachmam V'Chaim Arich V'Mazoinim V'Richli V'Afkidu Mimzukum V'Avoy Ba'di V'Ashur V'Arba V'Imru Uman Yehei Shlomo Rabba Min Shemayim Chaim Tov Molane V'Kol Yisroel V'Imru Amen Oseh Shalom B'Mromo Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael V'Imru
Amen. Amen. Okay. And now we'll get ready for the Torah service. Rachel has joined us. Welcome aboard, Rachel. Shabbat Shalom. Hollywood Temple Bethel sponsors our Shabbat services. Tomorrow night, the Seder. And if you didn't register through Eventbrite, just go in on the same login as for Shabbat and I'll let you in the door. Okay, I give away the secret there, you know. Okay, and we open the Ark and go to our Torah reading. Okay, let's all join in. Ein kamocha
Ein
be'elohim,
kamocha
Adonai,
Adonai,
ein kamasecha, malchutcha
Malchut
malchut, kol olamim. Yom
Shaltecha
shaltecha b'chol dor v'dor.
v'dor.
Adonai
Adonai
melech,
molech,
Adonai malach, Adonai
Moch
yimach,
l'olam
Adonai Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom,
Rachamim heitiva b'tzayim
Zion, Ibnei Chavot Yerushalayim, Ibnei Chavot Yerushalayim, Ki v'chalev avatavnu melech haram v'nisa, Adon olamim, Ki nizaron vayomer Moshe kuma, Adonai yafutzu oivecha ve'yanusu b'sanecha Ki Zion tetzei Torah, Ki Zion tetzei Torah, Udevar Adonai miYerushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo, Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo, Lamo Yisrael b'kedushato. And we come to the prayer in front of the ark. ותפתח ליבי באורייתא, ותשלים בשלום דליבי, ולכל עמך ישראל, ותרבו חיים ולשלום. Amen. And we continue with the Shema together. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai Kadosh Shemo.
Gadol Adonai
Ramama Shemo Yachdo.
Lecha Adonai Hagadol Hagavor Abatiferet Netzach Me'ahod Ki Chov HaShamayim U'Ba'aretz Ki Chov HaShamayim U'Ba'aretz Lecha Adonai Mitnaseh L'chol Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'yishtachavu l'Adam Kadosh Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'yishtachavu l'Hakadosh Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Okay, so we come to our Torah reading. We're in the portion of Tzav. The second of the portions in Leviticus Vayikra, and talking about now going deeper into the kinds of offerings. Again, it's very abstract for us, and indeed probably for the children of Israel it was also very abstract, and yet as is pointed out, these are made public. So there are very similar orders for sacrifice throughout the ancient Middle East and the ancient Greek world, but we have the text. Archaeologists have uncovered the text, but they were never passed on to the public. The sacrifice was the private business of the priest. It was his secret. The priest had the knowledge of how to connect to God, and everybody depended on the priest. You look at the power of the priesthood in ancient Egypt, for example, where they were not. When Joseph talks about taking land, he doesn't dare touch the lands of the priests. The priests have the key to heaven and hell, after all. Even the Pharaoh needs them to embalm him correctly and to guide him through the next life. Here, that secret is made public. And one of the indications are that every one of the sections has a summary. This is this kind of offering. This is this kind of offering. This for this kind of offering. That what we have here, what we have here are the collections of the scribes, who are not the same as the priests, we're putting down with instructions. This is what is being told, this is what is being told. It's like clarifying what the priests know, so when you study it, you're not a priest, you should know what the priest has to do. Later on, the scribes, it is believed, the scribes become the rabbis. You know, that there's, from Ezra, who codifies our text, as far as we can tell, for us of the Torah. He is a scribe and he's also a Kohen. So he's got authority in both ends. But as the scribe, he's now introducing interpretation of the Torah to it. And the scribes are developing now, because they know the text, they also are recording traditions that they have. Out of that comes the school of the rabbis, what we call the Pharisees, this school. So them making it public. And it is so public that by the time we get to the Second Temple, if one of the kings doesn't do one of the offerings exactly the way the public likes it, they get angry during Sukkot and they all throw their etrogim at the king. The king is officiating as a priest, which he wasn't supposed to do, but under the Maccabees that was done. They don't like the way it's done. They throw their etrog at the king because they know, the public knows, right? Very different from the medieval church, for example, where only the only the priest knew what was going on in the rites, and everybody else just watched. And of course, we know as soon as it was made public through translation of the Bible into local languages, the priests got knocked down a peg, a lot of pegs. Right? You have the Protestant Reformation, Counter-Reformation, all of those things going on. So we have what kind? We have now bread offerings, chametz offerings, right? Full bread. And these are used as part of the shlamim. Shlamim come in as thanksgiving offerings. They're eaten between the person who's offering it, the priest, and part goes up to God, as opposed to the olah, which is burnt entirely, completely. That's the kind of priest. But what's the important thing in here? The very important thing here is this idea that the public has to know. So all of this, we see is very technical. We should know what's happening. Okay, so let's go ahead then.
Rabbi, I think that what is remarkable in this chapter is the inauguration of the Mishkan. That is, Moshe had the priest outside. They purify themselves. They get rid of their sins, and Moses formally officially makes them Cohen.
Right. That's at the end of this portion. Yeah.
After that, and Moses makes all the rituals of the priest, and then when the Mishkan is inaugurated for the first time, Aaron enters and do the officiation as the official priest.
Right.
So I think this is an interesting set of events. I have a second question. Is the smoke that goes up to be of a great pleasure to God? Was it believed that somehow whatever is the neshama at that time or the spirit was going up to God through smoke, and smoke was the way that somehow things went out from the body and connected with God somehow?
Well, I think here it's not because of the smoke, but it says over and over, reach nichoach, a very pleasant smell. Rather than smoke, it's that remember, it's an incense. It's not just, it's an incense.
Incenses, yeah.
And so, yeah, there is smoke with it, God, and there is the idea of God in the clouds and so on. But the main point here, obviously, we know that originally the intention of sacrifices in all societies was of providing a gift to the gods that the gods themselves needed it physically. The gods needed it physically. The job of the human being was to serve the earth, work the earth, to provide offerings. That's in the ancient Babylonian myths. So we know that. So when you put the offering, put it on the altar, the gods are eating it. But what has happened, all of these are being transformed. And the sense of a physical God smelling, the sense of physical God eating is now metaphorized to only the symbolic action on the part of the human being.
Yeah, but see, it seems that the idea of a spirit was born more or less from that kind of notion, from a practical notion of a smoke going up, joining a God that you cannot see.
Well, spirit, the spirit, the words for spirit, all the words that we have for spirit in biblical Hebrew, ruach, nefesh, neshama, have to do with breathing. They all have to do with breathing. In other words, and you can see the creation of the human being. God breathes life into the human being, and when one dies, the breath is taken back. So breath is the symbol of life. It's not the smoke, it's the breath is the symbol of life. It's the symbol of the soul. And hence the word neshama, which is very simply the act of breathing, is the word for the soul, which is, by the way, in English also, spirit is breath in the ancient Latin. Right? It's breath. And it becomes transformed from breath into symbol for life. Also, now whether it was also in Latin in parallel or they took it from their translation of the Hebrew, I don't know, but maybe it's been universal. But
also, blood also was a symbol of life.
Right. So so the blood is buried, and the wind, the spirit goes back to where it came from. That's the symbol of life. All right, so one up, one down. Very good. Yeah, what you're talking about is chapter 8, about the Aaron taking the clothing, special clothing, and coming and be washed and so on. They go through days of purification, and that's where it takes. So I'm going to go back now. We're going to read the Torah portion, starting with line 11. We're going to go line 11 through 18. And Joe Ben Lul is still out of town. So Joe Sr., please do us the honor of the blessings.
Baruch Hu Esalam HaMavorach Baruch Olam Vorach Olam Voed Baruch Adonai Melech Haolam Asher B'Chabonim Kalamim Natan Lanu Es Toruso Baruch Atu Adonai Noten HaTorah.
In Zot Torat Zevach HaShlamim Asher Yakriv L'Adonai Im HaTodah Yakrivenu V'Kriv Al Zevach HaTodah Chalot Matzot Lo B'Shaman Urkikei Matzot Meshachim B'Shaman Solid Murvechet Chalot Lo B'Shaman Al Chalot Lechem Chametz Yakriv Korbano Al Zevach Todah Shlamav V'Kriv Mimeno Echad Mikol Korban Truma L'Adonai L'Kohen Hazoreket Dam HaShlamim Lo Yiyeh Ubasa Zevach Todah Shlamav B'Yom Korbano Yachel Lo Yanech Mimeno Ad Boker B'Im Neder O Nedavar Zevach Korbano B'Yom Kippur Et Zivcho Yachel Me'Mochrat Natan Mimeno Yachel V'Natan Mibasa HaZevach B'Yom HaShlishi Ba'esh Yisaref B'Im HaOchol Yachel Mibasa HaZevach Shlama B'Yom HaShlishi Lo Yeratze HaMakriv Oto Lo Yechashev Lo Pigul Yeh HaNefesh Ochel Mimeno Avonat Yisach. I just point out, by the way, notice you talk about, if you said there's the lechem chametz and there's matzot. Matzot is not associated just with Pesach. Matzot is a standard kind of bread. We identify matzot with Pesach specifically because that is bread that is not allowed to sour. That's basically what has happened. Lechem is bread where the dough has been allowed to sour, process of leavening. That's the key distinction. So that is the Torah reading.
It's possible that well, it was matzot without leaven. When they put leaven in fire, maybe the smoke maybe is very unpleasant. Maybe.
Well, but they do both. They had both kinds. You see, they have the chametz, full bread, and the matzot. Two kinds.
Yeah, but none of them contains leaven or whatever makes it.
No, once you let the dough rise, the yeast exists in the dough already. It exists inside the yeast is present inside the dough. It's when you add flour to it, when you add the water to it, that yeast has an opportunity to go to work. That's you don't have to add a leavening to it. You don't have to add an leavening to it. And then matzot, you just don't allow time for the yeast to start to work. That's basically what happens. So you don't need a leavening agent. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a baking lesson for today. All right. So now we go to our Mishaberach for those who are ill. For Eser Lishev, we say Mishaberach Havatenu V'Ham Yitzhak V'Yakov Saruf Garcher V'Daya V'Varech Et Acholim Eser Lisheva Pinchas Belteskovsky, Miriam Leodorf, Yatsa Ben Galina, Moisey Kelchik, Mindy Levens Pfeiffer, Jennifer Levens, Ronnie Duran, Harriet Levens, Moisey Ben Manya, Barbara Mormon, Esther Gerson, Jeffrey Bach, Avigdor Ben Yitzhak B'Tzvia, Joe Alexander, Robert Drato, Roger Rosen, Rachel Flalo, Jenny Drato, Michael Schinder, Susan Tuckman, Shirley Marco, Phil Feinberg, Judy Alkalai, Richard Zella, Lovin Masha Ben Sarah, Jason, Maureen Tucker, Miriam Bat, Yitzhak Bechanum, Liva Batsara, Chana Batsara, Eliel Ben Chana, Herb Mormon, Rina Hosepian, Shoshana Batsara, Chana Sarah, Leah Bat Rachel, Chana Sarah Bat Kayla Alta, Alan Whalen, Hiram Nesty, Sophie, friend of Judy Alkaline, all those afflicted by the COVID-19 virus. For all of them, we pray Hagadosh Baruch Hu Yirpeh Otam Yishlach Lehem Refuah Shlema, Refuat Nefesh, Refuat Haguf. May the Holy One send them healing, both the body and the mind, to them and to the whole house of Israel. Let us say, Amen.
Amen. Amen.
And it's down, back, and then there.
So I would like to add
Go
Ron
ahead.
Rothman, and
Ron
Gabi and
Rothman.
Tito Gorodischer.
Gabi and Dito of Korodichev. Any other names?
Sima Harlev,
Imalev,
Ronan Der Harlev,
Antoralev,
Susan Feinberg,
Feinberg,
Sharon Lipman,
Sharon Lippman,
Esther Rachel Batsiva,
Suresh Basiva,
Laban Moshe Ben Sarah,
Sarah,
Shalom Ben Elazar,
John Ben Elazar,
and Carl Flex.
Carl Flex,
And Rachel Badventura.
Rachel Ventura. Any others?
Wendy Keller.
Wendy Keller. Okay. So we join in for all of them with Hamisha Berach. Let's sing it together here. Misha Berach. May the source of strength bless the ones before us. Let's find the courage to make our lives a blessing. Let us say, Amen. Misha Berach. As those in need of healing, all of body, spirit, let us say, Amen. Amen. And we continue our Haftarah for today, because now we are Shabbat Hagadol. Not Shabbat Hagadol, group, wrong holiday. Shabbat Shuvah. Shabbat, and again, I go back. No, yes, Shabbat Hagadol. I'm really getting back.
Yeah.
The Shabbat right before Pesach. And what is the relationship between Shabbat before Pesach? We have a special Haftarah from Malachi. And we call it Shabbat Hagadol because the very last line we have Hine. What's the next last line? Hine Anochi Sholech Lechem et Eliyahu Navi. Behold, I bring you Elijah the prophet. Lifnei bo Yom Adonai Hagadol Banor. Before the coming of the day of the Lord, and it is great and awesome or fearsome, and that is hence the origin of the name. Of course, there are others that said that on the Shabbat before Pesach, it was one of 2 times in the year where the rabbi would give his drasha. It was a good job to be rabbi of a synagogue. We have to do 2 sermons in a year, on Shabbat Hagadol and Shabbat Shuvah. Shabbat Shuvah to call people to task for their actions, and Shabbat Hagadol to teach the laws of Pesach in the last minute for anybody who couldn't remember, and also to go over the Haggadah. In fact, the custom is that on Shabbat afternoon, one reviewed the Haggadah up until about halfway through, somewhere up to the dinner time portion. And that's what the phrase would be, Ad kam b'Shabbat Hagadol, up till here on Shabbat Hagadol, meant it's enough, we got to the end. And the explanation was that the rabbi's sermon, because he had so many laws and traditions to go over, would go on and on and on, and everybody say, what a great and awesome day is, meaning it's too long, too great, too big. But that's the joke answer. But the real answer is the reference to the Messianic era. Who comes to visit us on Pesach? Eliyahu Hanavi and Elijah the prophet, right? That's why we connect between the Haftarah, right, and Eliyahu Hanavi. And the whole theme of Malachi is this theme of return, of coming back to the land and calling the people to task to make sure, because they have to be ready for this. Malachi is the last of the prophets that we have. And from Malachi, we have the temple is already reestablished in a poor fashion, but it's there. They're back in the land of Israel. The cult is once again, the temple cult is once again functioning. Jews are once again rebuilding the land of Israel. They're not yet feeling secure in the land. From this, we will come, from a Jewish perspective, to the real second temple, as the Maccabees have established it in full strength and full power. The Jews now have a certain amount of independence, a certain amount of power to protect their interests and to develop and spread out to the world as it was known in those days, the Greek and Roman world, where Jews had actually missionaries and emissaries all around, and where the teaching of Judaism were beginning to be cultivated. So this is for Jews, this is a transition. For in the structure of the Bible, in our text, this is the end of the list of the prophets, and then we have what is called the Ketuvim, the writings, which is everything else. It's not identified with the prophets directly. Psalms, Proverbs, story of Esther, Ecclesiastes, and so on. Jonah is in there. No, not Jonah, I'm sorry. Song of Songs, Ruth, and then the Chronicles, the history books, the last history books, Ezra and Nehemiah, talking about the return of the people of Israel, and then the book of Chronicles, which ends up with the theme of the restoration of the children of Israel on the land of Israel. That's how we as Jews see the Bible ending, our restoration of the land of Israel. Not so in the text as the Catholic and Protestant Church has it. You'll see the order has changed. So the Malachi here is the very last line of the Christian texts of the Bible. They put the books in historic order. So for example, Psalms is right after the book of Kings because it's King David. And Proverbs would also come there because it's King Solomon, right? They changed the order to match a historical chronology. Now, in that historical chronology, you put Malachi the very last, because the last work historically identifiable. Not necessarily when it was actually written, but what we could identify. And why would they do that? Because who is Elijah the prophet for the Christians? John the Baptist. And what does John the Baptist bring us? Jesus. So you're going to end your Bible with the connection to Jesus. You see the order. How you organize things is very important. Okay, so we order it differently. We end with the connection to the restoration, the land of Israel. And just one other thing, which is Elijah. How does Elijah become identified? Elijah is a very cranky, cantankerous person, isn't he? He's fighting battles for God. He's killing the priests of Baal on Mount Carmel. He's arguing with God, doesn't even accept God's words to keep quiet. He wants a thunderous, awesome God, and God says, no, I'm in the cold Mamadaka. Elijah's very cantankerous, goes up to heaven in a fiery chariot. How come he's the prophet of reconciliation? What is his job? Heshiv lev avot al banim. Bring the heart of the sons to the fathers back to the sons, and the sons back to the fathers. If there's no reconciliation between the generations, that's where the destruction will come. Across the border, right? Beautiful, beautiful theme. That the destruction comes when the values of these generations clashes. And it's not necessarily the parent generation is right. It's the sons and the fathers, daughters and mothers, right? So we have this reconciliation across the board. That's where, because if not, that's where the earth is destroyed. Speak across the generations. I think each generation looks at it and looks at the one before and says, oh my God, they're so bad. And then probably then also the younger generation also looks at the older generation and said, they messed up things, right? So we need to be able to get beyond it. That is our teaching. Okay, so.
Rabbi, is it possible for Passover to coincide with Shabbat?
Yeah. It's very often you'll have Friday night as the first night.
It is possible.
Yeah, you have that. You also have, like this time, that it comes at the end of Shabbat.
Yes.
Which makes it complicated because then everything is kosher for Pesach before Pesach, right? Because you can't clean the house during Shabbat. So everything has to be kosher before. And you have always this question, what do you do with challah? Because you can eat challah until halfway into Shabbat morning, right? But if you do, you're going to have chametz all over the place. So the answer is you go to egg matzah, which is considered a matzah, but it is not considered a matzah. You may use it for hamotzi, but it's not really a matzah because you're not supposed to eat a matzah before the Seder, before the night of the Seder. So that's the
only Jewish holiday that cannot be on Shabbat is the Day of Atonement.
No, Yom Kippur is on the Shabbat. Yeah, very often it is. It cannot be on a Friday or a Sunday because that's right. Because on Friday you can't really prepare food for the day after. And so you can't have it on Friday. And the same thing, you don't go from Shabbat into Yom Kippur.
Yes, you do.
The same reason.
Yes, you do.
On a Sunday, Yom Kippur on a Sunday.
Yom Kippur on once every 30 years. Yom Kippur falls on a Saturday. You go to temple
On a
once every
Saturday.
30 on a Saturday, the first day of Yom Kippur.
Let me see. It's Lo Ba'adu Rosh. Here's the code. Lo Ba'adu Rosh Hashanah will never be on a Sunday, Wednesday, or Friday, and that controls the rotation. Lo Ba'adu Rosh, Lo Ba'adu, not on a Monday or Wednesday. Lo Ba'adu Rosh, yeah. I have to remember that it's a letter combination, not a Sunday, Wednesday, or Friday. So, and then you count 10 days, and that's how it will control it. That's it. So,
Yom Kippur in my lifetime happened once. I think I was 20 something. My dad said this is the first time he'd be seeing it on a Saturday.
Okay, I got it.
So he was probably in the concentration camp during that time.
Okay, I got to check that out. Okay, I gotta check that out. That's a good one. Well, let's start I'll read briefly from the Haftarah. V'aval Adonai minchat Yehuda b'Yerushalayim k'nei olam chshanim kamoniyot krafti alechem l'mishpat v'ayiti ed mimaher b'mechashvim u'banatim b'nishbaim l'shaker boshkei sachir aman aviatom mategel lo yeruuni amar maitzvaot yenai lo shineiti v'atem b'nei Yaakov lo kilitem מימי אבותיכם סרתם מחוקיי ולא שמרתם שובו אליי ואשוב עליכם עמד מהצבאות ואמרתם במנה שוב. And I'm going to go to the last lines. זכרו תורת משה עבדי אשר ציוויתי אותו בחורב על כל חוקים משפטיים. הנה אנוכי שולח לכם את הנביא לפני בוא יום הגדול והנורא והשיב לבבות הבנים לבנים אבותם, פן אבוא הכיתי את הארץ, חיירם והנה אנוכי שולח לכם את הנביא לפני ביום אדוני הגדול והנורא. And now we continue. Okay, prayer for the country and prayer for Israel. And I say, I owe you a Bishamra. I skipped Bishamra. I had a pretty Bishamra. I'll play it back at the end. And it's been a very, very tragic 2 weeks. We have a mass shooting last week. It was in Atlanta. And they had a mass shooting this week in Boulder, Colorado. And everybody's jumping to conclusions about who's responsible. So last week it was accusations about hatred of Asians. This week it was a Muslim Syrian who did the killing, but nobody rushed to blame the Muslims for attacks on whites. There's a rush then to blame the AR-15, but it wasn't an AR-15. It was a modified pistol called the AR something. Everybody jumps on what I'm saying. Everybody has their bromides to what's ailing. What I do see what's ailing us is that we're being chopped up into millions of different groups that are turning one against the other. And this is where the scare is. This is where my fear is for the country. So bring a time when we did come together and we faced, I'm going to go one more. Okay, the time when
And now we take great pleasure in presenting to you the star of our program, Miss Kate Smith.
Hello, everybody. It is my happy privilege to introduce a new song. God bless America. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountain to the prairie to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountain to the prairie to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet
Okay, the fight is a very tough fight, even here in California. From a Jewish perspective, we have the ethnic studies curriculum. The original version was heavily anti-Israel with a lot of tinge of anti-Semitism in it, done by our academicians and our education experts in California. It was defeated, it was rerun, let's say 4 different times, till finally the Jewish community felt comfortable and other ethnic groups could feel comfortable that were ignored or kicked out of it. And then the people who put it together the first time walked away from it in protest because those elements that they wanted, which were targeting Jews, was kicked out. They didn't say so, but that's what was happening. They're using Palestine as their issue, but that's pointing a gun at Jews. And that's basically what was happening. So we have it. We need to come together instead of being brought into little ethnic entities that are at each other's throats. That's the only way we'll survive. With that, let's go to the prayer for the state of Israel, which is also broken up into little tribal entities. Each one has its own seat in the Knesset. So the elections were held this week, and they're probably going to go back for another round of elections. It'll be the first time, maybe in Israel's history, where the Arabs are going to determine who's the prime minister, because they're willing to cooperate now, for the first time, in a government, and give the support to whoever, like all parties in Israel, gives them best patronage. which means they may actually get some good service in exchange for the vote, but thank who's the king in this case. So for the people of Israel, we pray for their well-being. Let's join in.
I heard
Avinu Shabbat
Shabbat
Shamayim.
Shamayim.
So yes,
Medina
Reshit again, Alecha Bevra Ufros Alecha Sukat Shlomecha Vachacha B'mitcha Shasarel V'yatzecha Takneim Beisatova Beisatova Milfandecha. Strengthen the hands of those who defend the Holy Land. Avinu Shabbat Shamayim. Deliver their efforts with triumph. Avinu Shabbat Shamayim. So Yisrael B'Golo. Bless our land, bestow God, inhabitants with lasting joy, and let us say, Amen. Avinu Shabbat Shamayim. So Yisrael B'Golo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael. Reshit Michat Kulatenu. Again, Alecha Bevrat Chazdecha. Ufros Alecha Sukat Shlomecha. Benomar Amen. Amen. And let's go ahead then with the return of the Torah to the Ark.
Yeah, hallelujah.
I want to check what I have here. Hold on 1 second. That's it. I know what I want. Okay, return to the Ark. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Shem
Cantor
Adonai.
Schwartz is going to lead us. Avi Schwartz. Yalu Shem Adonai. Kinas Gav Shemol Levado. Odal Eretz V'Shamayim. Vayaren Keren Le'avot Tehila Lechol Hasida. Livnei Yisrael Am Kerovo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Mizmor David. Avul Adonai. Ve'elim Avul Adonai Kavod. Avul Adonai Kavod Shemo. Ishtachavul Adonai Kodesh. Karmayim Yakabod Yirim. Karmayim Rabim. Kol Adonai Ba'akach. Kol Adonai Ba'adam. Kol Adonai Shomer Arazim. Aisha
Adonai
Yakirim K'megava V'Siryon K'mo Ben Reimim. Kol
Adonai
Chotel
Avot.
Kol Adonai
Adonai Medaber Kadesh.
Kol
Adonai
Sophia Merkavod
Adonai Lama Bula Asher Yesher Adonai Melech Olam Ozli Amo Yitain Adonai Yevorech Samo Bashalom.
And now Cantor Schwartz. That's it. There we go.
Precious teaching do I give you, never forsake my Torah. It is a tree of life for those who grasp it, and all who uphold it are blessed. Its ways are pleasantness, and its paths are peace. Help us turn to you, and we shall return. Renew our lives as in days of old.
And next cantors Probus and Finkelstein.
Hi, die, die, da, da, die, 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 da, da, die, 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 da, da, die, die. Hi, die, die, da, da, die, 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 da, da, die, 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 da, da, die, die. Ein Keloheinu, ein Kadoneinu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadoneinu, Michemalkeinu, Michemoshienu. Ay, 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 Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adoneinu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adoneinu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Ay, day, day, da, da, day, 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 da, da, day, 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 da, da, day, day. Ay, day, day, da, da, day, 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 da, da, day, 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 da, da, day, day. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adoneinu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shehiktiru Avoteinu Lefanecha Et Ketoret Passover. Ay, day, day, da, da, day, 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 da, da, day, 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 da, da, day, day. Ay, day, day, da, da, day, 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 da, da, day, 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 ya, da, day, day.
And now we wrap up. We're coming to the end of our service. Going to go ahead with Alena together. Alena l'shabach
Ladon Hakol. Shamano from Mishpachos Adama Shalosh Kokenidam Eleno Kechol Ramona Banachnu Korim Mishtachavim Lifnei Melech Malchei Amlach
Kadosh Baruch Hu
הוא
שונות
כן,
השמיים
השמיים
ויוסד
ויוסד
הארץ,
הארץ,
אשר
כמו
מקרוב
שביקור
השמיים
בשמיים
ממעל,
ממעל,
ושכינת
ושכינת
זו,
זו,
ושכינת
ושכינת
זו,
זו,
בגוהן
בגוהן
מרוממים,
מרוממים,
ואלוהינו
ולהינו
אין עוד, הם
אמק
ממכנו
מקלנו
ופזולתו,
ופזולתו,
ככתוב
ככתוב
בתורתו,
בתורתו,
ידעת
ידעת
היום
היום
והשבת
והשבת
אל
אל
לבביך,
לבביך,
כי
כי
אדוני
אדוני
הוא
הוא
אלוהים
אלוהים
בשמיים
בשמיים
ממעל,
ממעל,
ועל
על
הארץ
הארץ
מתחתינו,
מתחתינו,
then we
אינו,
conclude
על כן
ונאמר,
נאמר,
היה
אוי
אדוני
אדוני,
למלך
למלך
על
על
כל
כל
הארץ,
הארץ,
ביום
ביום
ההוא,
ההוא,
ביום
יום
ההוא,
ההוא,
יהיה
יהיה
אדוני אחד,
אדוני אחד,
ושמו,
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 שמו,
ושמו
ושמו
אחד.
אחד.
And we recalled the yahrzeits of those who passed away this season and previous years. Shaika ben Froim, and that's this year, my mother-in-law, mother-in-law for Weinberg, and Dvor Levi and Chaim Levi, her sister and brother, and Ilanit Bat Yitzchak, the mother of Dr. Isaac Norman, Harry Kyle, and Davis Wenkert, Jack Petska, and the victims of the COVID virus. And I hope that those victims are going down in numbers, at least here in the United States, and eventually gradually the rest of the world. For all of those, we recite the Kaddish, Yitkadal,
Yes,
יתגדל
Rabbi,
ויתקדש שמי רבה, נשמע דברי חלותי וימליך מלכותי, היכן ומכן וחיה בכל בית ישראל, מנכ"לים ומי, יהי שלום גבול כל עמי, ישברך וישבח תפוע ושלמה ושנעשה, יתדעת יתעלה ויתעלה שמי קדשה בריחו, ואלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה,
ונחמתה דמיון בעמבי ואמן. יהי
יהי
שלום
שלום
רב מן
רב
שמיים
מן
וחיים
שמיים
עלינו
חיים
והכל
עלינו
סביב
והכל
יבין.
ישראל
עושה
מממן,
שלום
עושה
במרומה,
שלום
הוא יעשה
במרומה,
שלום
הוא
עלינו
יעשה
והכל
שלום
סביב
עלינו והכל
ימרו.
אמן.
He makes peace in the heavens above,
Rabbi,
grant peace. Yes.
Rachel Avlalo's father has a yahrzeit today, I think.
Oh, what is his name? Rachel?
Yeah, it's
Rachel?
Sam Larea.
Sam Larea.
Samuel Larea.
Samuel Larea. Okay, we have his thoughts in our hearts. Make sure that Carmen has it. See if she has it on her records, because she sends me.
Yeah.
She keeps me updated every week, so we can put it in the records, and she'll send it to me for next year. Okay.
And Rabbi,
Go ahead.
I have 2 yard sites back to back on Passover. My Uncle Saul was the first day of Passover, and his father, my grandfather, was the next day of
What
Passover.
are their names? What are their names?
Okay, so Grandpa was Yaakov Leib, but Eliezer Shimon, Bareb Eliezer Shimon. And my uncle was Yerucham Fischel, but Bareb Yaakov Leib.
Okay, please get these two.
Yeah.
Carmen tries to record and keep track of these. So if you get it to her, then she'll put it in on the reminders list, and she sends out reminder letters.
Okay.
So, yeah, please do. So maybe the memories be for a blessing, and they're so bound up in the bond of eternal life. Let's go ahead now. We're going to wrap up with Adon Olam for fun. And then I'm going to take us on a little, I said, I'm not going to do any lessons, but we'll do a fun game. You like Jeopardy, so I found the Jeopardy for you. And I'm going to go to Adon Olam with this bunch of cantors. Ozzy Schwartz,
I'm supposed to go back to his seat, but he likes it too much. Good luck. אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא
Okay, Adon for us all, and I'm going to close this down and close this out of our way. 1 second, and close this out. We get everything out of the way, so that you can see our Seder table. To remind you, tonight is the first Seder. Okay, and for many of you, you may actually be able to sit with other people for real. And it's possible, and hopefully next year everybody will be able to sit together for real. Tomorrow night we'll have our virtual Seder, and again, God willing, next year we'll be able to do a real Seder, as we've done in past years. So I have a table set for you, and the secret I'm going to tell you is that you can log in through the regular Shabbat Zoom to get in. I didn't want to mess up with the account, because we use that then to screen onto Facebook and YouTube. So if you've been seeing this Some Enchanted Seder every time you log in, it's because of that. And once we're past Pesach, I'm going to try to change the setting. So, and for everyone, next Shabbat, the seventh day Pesach, we're going to do the Yizkor service next Shabbat, because just logistics-wise, too hard to run two services one after the other. So we're going to do the Yizkor at the end of next week's service. I just want you to be aware of that. It's in the emails. I hope you read your emails and watch for it. Yeah. So, and when you're signing on, if you give donations to Hollywood Temple Beth-El for your Chametz money, or whatever you want to call it, selling your Chametz or the Kimcha de Pischa, the money for Pesach to help others out, go through PayPal, temple at htbl.org, or plain paper check also. We appreciate your support. Let's go. I'm going to do stop share for a second so I can wave to everybody. Shabbat Shalom. And I have
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay. I found the Jeopardy game, and we'll play it for what it's good. It's got some weird questions in it, so it even threw me. But I said, okay, game is a game. We'll play it. All right. So I'm going to put it up now again. And here we go. And that'll be we'll make it our day for this Shabbat Hagadol. Okay, make this large. Here we go. You ready for Passover Jeopardy? And we're just going to go shout out your answers. It's okay. I don't care. We're not taking points. All right, we're going to start on the word roots. Now, roots can mean multiple things. So when we ask the questions, you have to use your imagination and think what we mean by roots. Let's see. For 100 points, the English word for shoresh is, let's see who knows. The Hebrew, I know we have at least one Hebrew teacher here. Shoresh, can shout it out. No?
No.
Rachel, you can turn on your mic, you know it. A shoresh is a root. A root, the correct answer. What is a root? A shoresh. Now, you use the word shoresh because another word for some of the vegetables that we're using is like the radish root, the horseradish root. So the shoresh is sometimes used as a word to describe that in some Haggadot. Continue. Next one. $200, still the word root. Oh, this is used to make the item on the Seder plate called maror. That's a root plant, which is?
Horseradish.
Radish, right, the horseradish plant. Right, that's the Ashkenazi, because he couldn't get hold of bitter herbs very well in Europe, where it was cold and chilly still. Continue. Oh, wait a minute, let me go ahead and give us the point on that one. Correct, all right, that's it. It should now continue. Okay, 300 points. The invisible person visits the Seder during the night. I don't know what that has to do.
Eliyahu Hanavi.
All right, we got it. It was Elijah, Eliyahu Hanavi.
Elijah.
That was actually an easy one. I don't know what the root is. Okay, cattle disease, frogs, lice, locusts, death of firstborn, blood, hail, darkness, beasts, and boils is?
Plagues.
The 10 plagues.
And plagues, and you got it. Okay, now the next one is this one's a doozy. This author wrote a book with this name. This one's a doozy. All right, the category is roots.
Alex Haley.
Huh? You got Alex Haley. That's right. You wrote the book Roots, and that became that.
Of course.
Which actually spread a lot of interest in people all around the world from all backgrounds, looking up their roots and the whole popular topic of heritage and genealogy. That's to his credit. Good. Okay, that's a good. Okay, now people, famous people. If I have to say, the person set the bush on fire. Who was it that set the bush on fire?
God.
Set the bush on fire. Good. This person did not get the, let's see if you know this one. This person did not get the gold when given the choice between it and a burning hot coal.
Moses.
Oh, good. What's the story? Do you remember the story? So it's a midrash that Moses is a little child. He's a young baby and he's very smart, over smart for his age. And Pharaoh's a little bit worried. So somebody says, well, put something valuable on one hand and put some hot coals. And if he knows to go for the gold, he's dangerous. If he goes for the hot coal, that's okay. It's just a simple child. And so Moses is going to go for the gold, or it's jewelry, whatever the version is. And the angel comes out, pushes his hand to the hot coal. He's burned. He takes the embers. He takes to his mouth. His embers burn his mouth. And from then on, he stutters. That's the explanation. You know that story. All right, there we go. 300. This person was called Moses for leading the slaves out of the South to freedom. American history. Who was given this title, Moses, for leading slaves out of the South to freedom?
Abraham Lincoln?
No. This is actually about before.
No, his brother Joseph.
No, this has to do with the Underground Railroad. There's a hint.
Yeah, Harriet Tubman.
Right. I didn't know that they used Moses for her, but that was apparently the nickname they gave her.
Oh.
And this person also waded into the Red Sea. Who is the one that waded into the Red Sea?
Moses, no?
Nachshon.
Oh, no. They gave this Keith Summers. I don't know where this is from. I have no clue. I looked him up. He's an actor. He's got. I couldn't find anything online about Keith Summers going into the Red Sea. I don't know where they came up with this. I have no clue who he is. This person discovered Moses in a basket floating down the Nile River.
Oh, that was the Pharaoh's sister, right?
The daughter.
The daughter. Excuse me.
That's how he gets a cozy position.
Yeah.
As baby to the Pharaoh, baby to the Pharaoh's daughter. There we go. Good. Numbers. Okay, this has to do with numbers. Number of matriarchs.
4.
4. Very good. And continue. And 4 words. The famous 4 words that liberated the Jewish people.
Let my people go.
Let my people go.
Good, very good one. Actually, it's correctly it's Vehitzalti, Vetzeti, Vegalti, Velakachti. Those are the 4 words that are used in Exodus. But this "let my people go" is good also. Continue. You're doing well. You're doing well. Sfardea is the Hebrew word for this, which is the second plague. Sfardea.
Frog.
Frogs is the plague. What is frogs? 400 points. Number of times it took Moses to convince Pharaoh to let the Jews out of Egypt. This is a good one. I couldn't figure this out right away.
What's the question?
The number of times it took Moses to convince Pharaoh to let the Jews out of Egypt.
Twice?
10.
Okay, here's how many plagues were there?
10?
So each
Oh,
one was
yeah.
an attempt. But then before the 10th plague, before the first plague, he goes to Pharaoh with the staff and turns it into a serpent. And Pharaoh says, nah, I can do that easy myself. So it's really 11.
11.
That's a clever one.
Oh,
Okay, number 5. Here we go. This one, this person played the mathematician on the TV show Numbers.
Oh, Judd Hirsch?
Let's see who it was.
Judd Hirsch?
Charles Epps. I have no clue.
Oh.
I have no clue who he is.
Charles Epps, never heard.
Epis Ashaila. I don't know. Okay, order. The blessing of the first cup of wine is called a. No?
Hey,
What do you call the blessing over the cup of wine?
wine.
Hagafen.
Hagafen, Hagafen is for birth period.
No,
What is part of what is called the same as on
Oh,
Friday night?
the first cup. The first cup.
Yeah, we
No,
call it the same as on Friday night. What do you call it?
Oh,
Bora Priya Gufa.
Kiddush.
Yeah, but what do you call it? Kiddush.
Kiddush.
Motzi.
Kiddush.
Alright.
Kiddush.
Kaddish.
That's an obvious one. That's too obvious.
Too easy.
After eating matzah meal for a week, people usually succumb to this condition.
Constipation.
Yeah, okay. For Clint.
Stuffadeki.
Okay, for Clint. The first thing we do in the Seder. This is a good question. First thing we do in the Seder. Oh, first action.
Wash hands.
No, first thing we do is say Kiddush.
You know what? They have the washing hands, but technically the Kiddush is really the first thing. And so, but since they have Kiddush already, so they're going to wash their
and then
hands.
you
But
wash your
Kiddush is
hands.
the first thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go to the washing of the hands.
Yeah.
But since they had Kiddush already, I guess they counted it. Here we go. Order. The Hebrew word for order is?
Seder.
Yeah.
We got it. And for 500
Fine.
points, this activity comes right after the meal.
Yeah.
Find the afikoman.
Afikomen, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Afikomen, that's it. Search for the afikomen. Oh, the afikomen, yeah, it comes on usually during after.
Well, that's
All right. Okay, foods. The nasty mortar we eat that's made of nuts, apples, and wine is tasty mortar.
Delicious.
Charoset.
Oh, it's delicious.
And
Yeah.
you know, if you eat too much,
Yeah.
you get charoset of the liver. That's a whole,
Oh, that's funny.
that's a whole lot.
that's no
Okay.
that's
Yeah, this is
no
good.
good.
A yummy dessert that includes matzah and chocolate.
Oh, chocolate matzah.
Yeah, chocolate covered matzah. That's a good one. That actually took me time. to
That's
figure out.
delicious.
Yeah.
And this food is symbolic of the exodus of Jews from Egypt.
Oh, the mortar. The mortar. No.
That's the slavery.
The
Matzah.
matzah.
Matzah. Yeah, you could also get away with what was I going to say?
Mana.
No. I was thinking, just escape. But you could also get away with saying matzah, maror. No, maror is the bitterness. I had something else that might have escaped me, and it's the age coming on. I can't tell you. These foods, charoset, shank bone, egg, parsley, and bitter herbs, are found on this plate.
Seder plate.
Right, okay, we're hitting. We're batting 100, even with some of the weird questions.
Yeah.
Here we go, number 500. Let's see this one.
The Yemenite tradition, apparently.
Okay. This word in Latin means fruit of the soil.
What? What do you
Fruit
say?
of the soil. This word in Latin means the fruit of the soil.
Foolish to say.
This is a good one.
Patur Adama.
Tapuch adama would be fruit of the soil. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Tapuch would be an apple from the soil. Pomme de terre, apple from the soil. What Latin word? Anybody figure it out? It's part of the Seder foods.
Oh, charoset, no?
No, it's something fruit of the soil. It has to be something that grows in the ground.
Oh, a bulb? No, a root?
Potato? No.
Fruit of the soil.
Fruit of the soil.
Yeah, fruit of the soil is carpus. It's a Latin word, which means vegetable.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah. So in other sources, I found that it was also interpreted as and it's not exactly, petrozilia is the modern Hebrew version, but it was a little variation of parsilosa, something like that. But it's like petrozilia, which is parsley. Also used as right, carpus. So, okay, we got all the points. There's some doozy questions in here. I don't know who made it up. I like the one about the guy, this actor I never heard of.
Yeah, the actor.
Yeah. Okay, but we got all the points eventually, so you're doing pretty well. I'm gonna shrink this down.
Bruce was definitely Alex Haley, not actually.
Yeah, Alex Haley. Yeah. I remember it was an excellent series. I think it was very important because it started people looking at family, where their families are from, and you have all this industry coming out of it. My heritage, the DNA stuff, ancestry.
Finding my roots.
Your roots, right? And then people finding out the father's not their father, mother's not their mother. You know, all sorts of things that go up because of that.
Now they have the DNA for your dogs. Yeah.
Dog DNA.
Dog DNA.
Okay, so you know if it was really the dog around the corner or the dog from the other corner.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. All right, to everybody, Shabbat Shalom. Have a good Pesach.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Your families, your friends, whether you're going to be
Happy
sitting.
Pesach. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.